Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I don't like my background. I need something a little more sci-fi. This fits perfectly good. So, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. Welcome to this Future Friday, where we get to talk about uh, shadowy figures behind me. But no, actually, more specifically, we're going to talk about science fiction, tabletop role-playing games, especially Obsidian Star, a free tabletop role-playing game developing in the public eye. I'm going to fall on my face. I'm going to stumble over myself. But more importantly, this is going to be one of my darlings. I'm specifically designing one of these I forgot the terminology for it. It's like your best thing that just doesn't succeed. But no, to be honest with you, this is a project I've been working on for it's been at least a dozen years, and I think all of us have had that. And maybe you yourselves, if you're designing your own tabletop role-playing game or you have interest in science fiction, you would love to be part of this. Yeah, so thank you, Drew. It is. Let's see if I can get that. I can't get that bigger. No, yeah, these are gaming heartbreakers. Thank you very much. Yeah, gaming heartbreakers, where you make a 600-page book that's got you poured all your heart and soul into it. No one wants to see it. No one wants to buy it. Actually, to be honest with you, though, the simple act of its creation itself is to be applauded, and I think unfortunately people just don't get that they don't receive the accolades for even just accomplishing something like that. The Yanking says that guy's spacesuit looks like a bantus shrimp. Actually, that makes sense to make yourself visible out in the vacuum. Yeah, I thought about that, to be honest with you. I didn't make that image, by the way. I use Canva. I try to make design and such, but I found that image and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. I really like that. That's awesome." Okay, so very quickly, first let's get the mechanisms out the way. So this is a 2D12 system. I call it the singularity system, and as this is being designed, I like it, and what I'm trying to do is keep the word count down, but unfortunately, I'm falling into this region where I'd like to explain the design behind it. And so what I'm thinking of doing, because I'm going back and forth with the editing, which is why I'm not showing too many words, but I like to explain the design process so that even if you disagree with me, you go, "Oh, that's what this dude was thinking." So it's got a strange roll high but under high not over system, except that ones are always successes and 12s are always failures. So most dice mechanics are either roll under or roll over, but they don't have this dichotomy where you're trying to roll high, but the very lowest number is actually a success. And the reason behind that is basically psychologically, I feel I did go with the roll over and then the roll under. What I didn't want is infinite numbers. I feel like Pathfinder kind of falls into this category of infinite modifiers, infinite numbers. Rolling very high becomes the goal unto itself. And then the other thing that I didn't want to do is have it roll under, because it sometimes psychologically it can be a dissonance with individuals who play games like that. Not that it's wrong, or not that I think it's one is better than the other, but yeah, thank you. So, by the way, have you copyrighted Obsidian Star, because it's looking really good and you've made logos for it? No, I don't have that. Although I could prove that I was the first individual to do so, and I wanted something very simple. And I think I finally found out how to use Obsidian Star is going to be a stat in the game. Obsidian on one side and Star on the other. But anyway, where's the image here? So, okay, so it's a roll high, not over system. And The reason why I like 2d12, I like the number 12 because it is very easy to get for me, um, hate to say this, it's kind of it's a forgotten stepchild die. Also for my brain, 12 is a large enough expanse of a polyhedral number with a randomizer in it that is easy to comprehend in one vision. So an example, because um, I have, I don't know, dozens. There are probably going to be hundreds of random tables, and 12 is a great bullet point. Um, oh, I'm losing my words. Um, it is very easy to do a 6x6 or full 12 list that the mind, I feel, can quickly comprehend in one vision and then move on after it's needed. So if someone were looking at a grocery shelf in a tabletop role-playing game community and you wanted the largest number of options that you could quickly look at, peruse, and move on, is 12 in my brain. So a 6x6 category, you can just quickly, your eye can roll down it and go, oh, I need to pick. I'm stuck for an idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Oh, boom, that's one. Uh, Drew says a roll under is weird when talking about overcoming challenges. The moment one frees oneself from that ableism paradigm, it becomes much easier to live with. Yeah, there are some OSR roll under systems. As a matter of fact, way back in the day, their Dungeons and Dragons didn't have a skill system, and so your stats, you'd roll 3d6 for your stats, and they would number between 3 and 18, usually hovering between like 8 and 13 would be your stats for strength, dex, and such. And because it didn't have a skill system, the house rule that became an official rule in many OSR games was grab a d20 and roll your stat or below. So it was a roll under. Hey, make a strength check. Roll your strength or below. My strength is 13. Great. Roll under your strength. So it became a roll under system. This system, because I want to get into combat, recovery, and death, question mark. Combat is you're going to have a challenge and you're going to roll 2d12. And what I wanted to do is, hey there. So the reason for the 2d12 is because I didn't want there to be any dead rolls. So one of the worst things to have happen in role-playing games is for nothing to happen. Bad things and good things happening, perfectly fine, right? But nothing happening feels like you waited a long time to be defeatist and do nothing. So an example would be you're playing with 4 other individuals and you're engaged in this. There's supposed to be this titanic battle in fantasy or something. And you're like, oh, great, it's my turn. I'm going to roll up. I'm going to run up and slash it with my sword. And I've got this special ability. And you roll dice. And then, well, you roll a 13 or higher. I roll an 8. Okay, well, nothing happens. Right. And thank you so much. We believe in you. So what happens with the 2d12 is that you could, either of the dice can allow you to succeed in an attempt. So you could literally fail and succeed at the exact same time. And this comes up with a yes, no, if, and, or buts kind of situation. And yes, it's a yes, yes, no, if, and, or buts situation. And so that terminology is very much a indie narrative kind of thing, that maybe you fail, maybe you succeed. It's the you failed, but you got some kind of success. You succeed, but there was some kind of a complication involved. You have a total success, and it's like a success beyond what you thought. It's a success and you receive something, or it's a failure and you receive something else. Yeah, Druden says, because right now, for those who don't know, and I might call this up as a matter of fact while we're talking, the MCDM and D20 DC-20 both seem to make systems at the moment that directly are about damage and not if it hits. I feel, because I wanted to talk. Thank you very much for bringing it up. Thank you, dead man. I'm talk about that in a minute too. The Okay. uh Cairn, Cairn, before you get there, Drew. The Cairn system, the MCDM system. There are a number of systems out there talking about no rolls to hit, you just roll damage. And I feel like they're describing it incorrectly. So they're describing it as if every single attack hits, you're just standing in front of each other and you're just wailing on each other and it just hurts. Narratively, what the system is, it's a countdown timer for endurance, strength, and capability. So if you ever watch an action movie, many times your action heroes don't get hit as many times as you think they do. They jump out of the way of explosions. There's a lot of like bruising. They get punched, kicked, thrown over things, slammed against walls. Maybe objects get dumped on top of them. Enemies the same way. They get kicked in the chest and fall over things. And the the rolling for damage and not hitting is a it is eroding the capability of who is going to stand at the last moment. So it's not about I hit them and then they hit me, and then I hit them and they hit me. Because when we roll dice, we think of that in our heads. Like, well, if I'm just going to roll dice for damage, I literally just stood in front of them and did it. But there's there's jazz happening in between those events that they are not describing. So it's really an attrition mechanic. Your hit points are just a measurement of time. Um, Hit points are a countdown timer. If one person has 37 hit points and the enemy has 167 hit points, the enemy currently in that conflict has a larger countdown timer than the player character has with 37 hit points. And the dice are a randomization of how much that timer reduces. Like in a video game, you have an energy bar, and that energy bar can start to reduce, and that bar could reduce from any number of things. And so that's what that system is. They're just describing it as hit or miss, which I think it's like describing armor class as hit or miss, and it's actually incorrect. So, but the MCDM system, they're also trying to make it quicker. And like, yes, you are correct there, Deadman. Yeah, maybe I could copyright Obsidian Star RPG. I'm look into that. How much that would cost me? Okay, so yes, there is the roll high not over system that I'm using is you. I also don't want people to have in the spiral, the game master to have to figure out what's difficult and what isn't, and figure out numbers and all that. I'd rather it be on a character sheet, and so the character sheet, the characters having the ability to pick their own method in how they're going to accomplish a goal is my purpose, so that the players already know what it takes for them to succeed or fail. And then they roll their own dice against that. And then they can choose which of those dice allow them to succeed or fail. That's a lot to say. But the way I'm saying it means that it's funny that I'm using a real estate flyer. But anyway, the reason I'm saying it that way is because I'd rather it be in the player's hands. I'd rather a player decide, hey, I'm going to do this thing to get this thing done right. Instead of the game master, the spiral arm saying, oh, I have this arbitrary number you need to beat. And I picked this arbitrary number because I wanted it to be arbitrarily more difficult, whatever. Yeah, I think copyrights do not cost anything. Trademarks are the thing that costs money. Yeah, because I have a title and then I have a design as well, which are two separate things. so yeah. Um I'd prefer it to be more like, oh, what's the game? Maybe Powered by the Apocalypse or something, because I'm a terrible salesman and I don't want to get into accounting, and I'm not a marketing agent. So all of those things combined just make my brain just want to like it makes me want to roll my eyes into the back of my head. So I wanted to leave as much as possible in the player's hands for them to do, which is why there isn't a strength dex system, um, because most characters are going to be humanoid, and the differences between how fast or smart or quick someone is, I wanted to get rid of. So anyway, combat. You're going to roll 2d12, and right here 2d12, roll high, not over. So you're going to pick an attribute. You have an approach. You roll 2d12. You choose which die is going to be high but not over your stat. Beginning characters are going to start with your stats pretty low. You basically will have on average 4 in each of your attributes and 4 in 3 approaches you pick for your character. And you describe like how and why you're accomplishing something, not the stat, like who's stronger or faster. Really, it's basically like you're going to use force, flex, or fulcrum. Force is direct. Flex is kind of like you're acting quickly, but you're also assessing what's going on. And then fulcrum is using the least amount of energy, maybe even using things in your environment to accomplish something. Least amount of energy to get the greatest effect. There is no initiative die. So force goes first, flex goes second, fulcrum goes third. For enemies, enemies are going to be adversaries, and challenges are going to be a single digit between 1 and 12 usually, and there's going to be an average in the middle. Very easy challenges are going to be like basically 2 or 3, 4. Medium challenges 5, 6, 7s, and then higher challenges 8s and above. In general, excuse me. And they will act before or after the player characters based on the number the player is using at that time. So a character could have a force of 3 and a flex of 5. If they're going up against an adversary of 4, it will happen in between that time. It'll happen between. So the drawback to going first is that you will probably suffer a loss of your strive and probably even baggage if you fail. If you use flex, you're only going to only suffer either a loss from your strive statistic or baggage. And if you use fulcrum, you're not going to suffer either of those. So going last prevents you from getting a lot of side effects. Going first, you're going to risk getting lots of side effects if you fail a roll. Failing one roll will result in one thing. Failing 2 rolls results in 2 things. So, for example, strive is the stress, strain, hit point mechanic, and not only is it that mechanic, but you also spend it to achieve certain things. And failing a roll means that you will suffer a loss, and that loss will be loss of strive, or you'll suffer baggage, which is something that attaches to a negative aspect that attaches to your character that you carry around with you until you can resolve that situation. So when you use force and you go first, one failed roll means you will suffer you'll either acquire baggage or suffer strive. 2 failed rolls mean you suffer both of them. For flex, it's only one or the other, and for fulcrum, you don't suffer either of them. And it's so the incentive is: do I want to go first? Do I want to, do I want to attack the enemy first? Yes, but you'll leave yourself wide open if you use the force attribute, and then you suffer from behind that, which means that basically every time you roll the dice, you're either going to get very good successes or harm. In addition to rolling 2d12, 1s always succeed, 12s always fail. Double 1s are galactic successes. Double 12s are galactic failures. Doubles double. So if you roll double 4s, it's as if you rolled an 8. You want to roll high, and mind you, if it goes above your stat, it doesn't matter. It still counts. So if your stat is both of your attributes and approaches are 5, you roll double 4s, you've got not only a critical success, but now that critical success is now considered an 8 instead of a 4. So weird to describe it that way, but yes, doubles are crits. Double ones are like galactic success. And when I say galactic, it means that the success is so great that it is, you make it part of the game. It will, this is something so successful that it becomes a, let me put this up here, what Dead Man has to say. It becomes so successful that becomes a notable event, remembered if possible, unless the player characters are really sneaky. If possible, it starts to change the game. And I literally want it to be a galactic success or a galactic failure. Yeah, Deadman says the U.S. Copyright Office charges at least $45 for a single filer copyright or $85 for a multi-filer copyright. IANAL, so don't take this as law, but it is fairly accurate. You're usually pretty on point there, Deadman. So yeah, I'm looking. I mean, that's relatively inexpensive. Although this is a side note. Amazon. I don't know how true this is, but if you ever search on Amazon, especially for like clothing items and electronics, they have these funky names for their clothing brands and electronics. And for some reason, I heard, and I don't know how much of a conspiracy theory this is, that they are overloading the copyright market office by making all of these artificial brand names so that Amazon has a hold on so many names that other people can't get into that field, and either have to abide by Amazon to say, we own the name for that product. Maybe you want to sell it on, we won't sue you, but you could work with us. I don't know how true that is, but it's wild. Drew says, I don't like rolling for initiative either, but if the initiative order is determined by attribute, then you would always have to have everyone say what they are doing before initiative order. You are correct. And one of the ways to get around that is for the player to basically say, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to do? Well, let's do I am not a lawyer. Okay, that's it. I was like, my brain, I was just like, what's the acronym? I knew it was an acronym. I knew you weren't misspelling anything. I was just like, thank you. Thank you. I was like, what? Being live does that to you. But going back to what Drew says about the initiative order, what I'm going to encourage, and this is so difficult to write rules, is what as a player are you trying to do? Not what attribute are you using. What are you trying to do? Well, I need to get past the guard. Okay. How are you doing this? Well, I'm just going to pretend like I'm busy. When the guard asks me something, I'm going, oh, I'm just busy. It's important I get to fix this thing. I've got my work clothes on. I got my jumpsuit. I've got tools over my shoulder. I'm going to flash a hologram of a work order. And I'm just going to walk right past him. Oh, so you're forcefully imposing your will or something on this person. And the PC might say, well, I'm not forcing it on them, but I am being kind of like bold about this. Like the guard's clearly going to see me, but I just want the guard to be flustered and not stop me or something. And go, oh, okay. Whereas maybe the player goes, well, am I being I'm going to, my flex stat is higher. So, hey, Spiral, I'm going to really use my flex stats. They're like, oh, so you're going to assess the situation just a little bit, maybe get to a conversation with the guard. And so I want it to be more of a dialogue, but not a very long dialogue. What are you doing? Are you acting first? Great. Okay, then you're going to go first. Are you with the understanding the conversation would be from my end, if I'm running the game, I'd say, oh, so you're going to leave. It's possible if you fail, you're going to leave yourself open to a lot of conditions, side effects, and the player may go, I really don't want to do that. So you are correct. Now, here's another thing too. players are probably going to want to pick their best attributes first and then use those, default to those. So the first once or twice it'll be very like awkward, but after that the player may go, no, I'm always using my flex attribute. Great, then I always know you're going second. Now here's the order that it goes: force, flex, fulcrum, in that order. All forces, the highest number goes first, and it goes down the line. So all the people under force, whoever has the highest number, then they act first. Whoever has the highest flex, whoever has the highest fulcrum, they go first, then you go downhill. And then if those are equal, you go to the second attribute. So if everyone has a force of 4 and there's 3 players, then you go in the order of your flex, and so on, so on, so on. And then if all of that is equal, then there's a roll off. But it shouldn't get that far. It really should not get that far. Most players usually are like aggressive. There's many players that are equally aggressive. Some like to be careful because they don't want to make the wrong decision, and others like to lay back in the cut and hold their action to see what everyone else is doing. And those 3 attributes, 4, flex, fulcrum, represent those generalizations, if I can say that. So yeah, Enking says, is there technology or sorcery that can affect your spirit, so to speak? Not necessarily. There isn't any like well, I'm trying to think of description, like pseudo mystical element in the game, because it's already complicated enough. That I'm not discouraging that there won't be, but and although I guess you could say if there's high technology, technology advanced enough is indistinguishable from magic. So I guess there is that that possibility. The Ant King says, just thought of something. Does baggage carry over between bodies since so many people have spares? Yes. So let me roll down here. So baggage as a concept is something, it is very narrative, and so recovery can get rid of baggage, but narrative gets rid of it even better. So baggage could be a broken ankle, and baggage could be family drama, right? You switch a body, you still have family drama in this world. You switch a body with a broken ankle, you no longer have the broken ankle. But baggage could be debt, baggage could be addiction, obsession, fears, infestations. Baggage is a catch-all for a negative thing you carry around with you that starts to affect the way that you operate. So right off the bat, baggage without any description is the default. So you can gain baggage, and you could literally just write it down if you wanted to on your character sheet. It fills up your pockets. Over here on the left, kind of count in a vertical part, it says, if your pockets are full, like pockets full question mark, then your strive goes to 0. So you don't want to carry around a bunch of baggage, because at a certain point, your strive score will drop to 0, and then you'll start taking direct damage or losses to your force, flex, and fulcrum. So that's how characters die. Strive is a stress, strain, luck mechanic, and it's also you burn it off. So you'll be gaining it and burning it, depending on how you want to play your character. And you also, if you have to go up against a challenge number or rating that is above all of your attributes and approaches when you try to accomplish something, in order to even accomplish it, you got to burn strive to do it. You burn 1 strive to even roll the dice. So if you have a stat, let's say you have a flex of 4 and you're being careful of 5. So you're like, you know what? Oh man, this giant robot's attacking us. I'm going to try to, I'm running behind cover, and I've got my, X-ray laser gun, and I'm going to start blasting at it, but I know you're like, the player's like, I know it's got radiation shielding. I got to figure out a way to get around this thing. And it's like, well, what's the challenge rating? And Spiral's like, what's a challenge rating of 7? It's impossible for you to roll above your own stat and be successful against a 7. But if you burn Strive, you can do that. So if you burn Strive, 1 Strive, then if you roll equal to, you have to roll high, but not over your stats. So doubles will count. Roll double 4s. It's an 8. That 8 goes above the 7 challenge or whatever. Or you are successful with 1 die, but you fail in the other die. And if let's say you roll a 3 and a 9. Well, the 9 normally is a failure and the 3 is a success. The 3 is a success. I burn Strive. I get to use my 9, right? It's kind of how it works. So in order to even roll against something higher than you have to burn Strive to take advantage of your higher numbers. Otherwise, you just don't have the willpower or wherewithal to go against those higher level, more powerful entities that are out there. And then maybe that character finds a weakness in the robot, or they realize that the robot has, I don't know, a hydraulic system that they could take advantage of, or something like that. So yes, baggage does carry over because you can switch bodies. And just as it states right here, it's kind of the rules are involved here. The number of pockets you have equals your Strive score. Gear are positive traits. Baggage are negative traits. Baggage bumps gear. And such. Yep. And there are boxes next to these empty slots. And those boxes basically they can range from +1 to +3. And baggage is the same way. So you receive a broken ankle, and that baggage would just be a level 1 baggage level. I need to come up with terminology. I hate coming up with too much terminology, but you could get baggage that just keeps increasing to the point that it starts having a negative effect on you. So to wipe that baggage away, if that broken ankle goes to a +3, then you actually have 3 levels of baggage on that to get rid of it. So a recovery of 1 will only get rid of 1 level, recovery of 2 levels, recovery of 3 levels. Woo, I'm jumping around. Lastly, recovery. So if you're going to start burning the Strive, how do you get it back? So if you spend 12 points, that means you got 12 Strive, you got 12 points, you go down to 0. How the hell do I get it back? So if you are recovering, if you follow your convictions, usually you can regain 1 to 3. And following your convictions, it's like, are you extropian? Are you an an expressionist? Are you a exploiter? There's 6 of them. And if you follow your convictions, you regain 1 to 3. And usually following your convictions will happen throughout the game, right? After every scene, you follow your convictions or something, you're going to gain back 1 to 3. But if you really want to sit back and rest and relaxation, you can recover Strive with your connections, and you'll regain 1d12. And your connections are like your people, places, and things you are connected to. And you don't necessarily have to have a good relationship with them, but you should have a relationship with them, period, that draws you into the game. So looking at a photo of a loved one, contacting someone, in your online world, and discussing what you came from you're Asturian, you came from the asteroid belt, and the long lost friends, and you have a discussion with them. You go to a tavern and drink your problems away or something. I wanted recovery, especially with connections, to be something that draws the players out so they don't turtle up. So to recover, you may need to reach out to your person, place, and or things to recover, which means that the player has to leave the safety of themselves to go out into the world. So it's a monkey wrench thrown into the yes, monkey wrench is thrown into the murder hoboism, right? Yeah, Drew says having a copyright will not protect you against plagiarism lawsuits. No, here's the thing: that won't. It's perfect protection. I mean, perfect defense for them because I don't have the money to sue people unless somebody starts making tens of thousands of dollars or something like that, and then my ass comes out of nowhere. Deadman says Damien Rail and Noah Rubin have generated and saved every possible melody in an attempt to prevent unwarranted copyright claims, like Vanilla Ice getting sued by David Bowie and Queen. Yeah. I've heard of that lawsuit. We all know that there's no way that Vanilla Ice didn't steal that melody. But yes, I've heard of the idea of trying to generate as many like 4-point melodies and stuff like that. It's pretty ridiculous, to be honest with you, because at a certain point, regardless of how many things people create, we're always going to have parallel creations in life. That's just a given, right? There's nothing I've made that somebody else didn't do in some way, shape, or form. So yeah. Level times weight. Yep. Baggage. Oof. So so I wanted recovery to be something. I stole that from Blades in the Dark, listening to an interview with John Harper, who created Blades in the Dark. Blades in the Dark has a vice recovery of stress system in Blades in the Dark. So you have a vice in Blades in the Dark, and a vice is something we normally consider to be harmful, like an addiction, violence. It's literally a vice. Gambling, maybe you're a spendthrift. It could be, sexual rendezvous or something. And you regain your stress by engaging in your vice. And he created that so that characters wouldn't turtle up. You have to go out into the world to recover a thing back on your character. It would be like recovering hit points in fantasy by engaging in a vice, right? Hey, you get to recover 4d10 hit points as long as you go out into the city and do a thing. And that's where that comes from. So I'm stealing it. I'm picking that part. Death. So when a character dies, remember, death is not permanent, but deletion is. So when a character dies, first of all, what does it mean by by death not being permanent? Deadman understands this because, as a fan of Eclipse Phase and Altered Carbon and other post-human games, it's the idea of having a cortical stack, a zip drive, a zipper in the back of your head, and your zip records all of your brain activity. So a character could literally get blown in, get a bullet to the forehead and collapse. And as long as someone recovers that zip drive, that character is potentially still alive. They are a potentiality before they come back to the game. There are other ways to survive. For example, if the zip drive is stolen or lost to space or destroyed in a plasma field or something, there may be a backup memory of that character somewhere else. Hopefully that player character has backed up their memories. Maybe those memories are 3 weeks old and they don't remember getting murder killed, but whatever. So there may be a backup of the character. The character may also carry with them a system by which, like an airbag, it will beam their neural pathways to a place where they can recover. So just before the laser beam goes through their eyeball, it will beam their neural pathway to a receiving station, which will recover their memories. The problem is death is traumatic. And no matter how many agency funded things a player does, no matter how crazy this world of being able to switch bodies is, death is still traumatic. And so because of that trauma, every time a character dies, you must mark off an approach, one of the 6 approaches. And though not listed on the character sheet, and I haven't figured out how to list it here, one of these days I will. You will mark off an approach, and a conviction that is no longer viable for your character to have as a choice. So it's possible when your character dies, you can mark off an approach that you haven't even picked for your character, because when you make your character, you only have 3 approaches. No character has more than 3 approaches. Well, there's a way to get around that through advancement, but let's say focused, you never picked focus and you have no intention of picking focus, but you mark it off. You can literally put a black bar through it. Boom, you mark it off. Your character died. Okay. But each time you die, you're marking off yet another approach and another conviction that is not available to your character. At a certain point, when a character dies, you're going to have to pick another thing. You're going to have to pick another conviction and another approach for your character. And eventually, as your character dies and comes back, the character will not only change, but their mindset will start to focus down until they become basically an NPC. Because at a certain point, as you start marking off approaches, you might be only left with subtle and swift as one of your approaches, because you're marking off bold and careful and focused and wild. And the only 2 left that you have to accomplish anything is subtle and swift. And of course, once the last one is done, even after all of your approaches are gone, even after all your convictions are gone, your character may still be alive. They could still be alive. They're just an NPC. Now, that NPC could retire. That NPC could be psychologically removed from the world. They may wander off and be despondent and just never become the thing that they are. They may be forcibly retired. They may have to go into a home or something. They unfortunately may take their own lives, forcefully delete themselves by jumping out of airlock or falling into an atmosphere or something like that. They may jump into a recycle bin or whatever. That's a possibility as well. Yet another problematic thing in the game. Yeah, that the whole idea of that is that death brings trauma, and so you start marking off choices for your character until the point that you actually start putting yourself down into a you go down the spiral hole. It's not necessarily a death spiral. It's more of a churn. But anyway, that's it. I forgot to change the hit location thing. Damn it. DBJ, you're not very smart. Okay. But go back to here. What you guys have to say? Oh, you're saying like level X, the letter weight baggage for your 3-box diagram. Oh, okay. I see. Yes. Hmm. How would I do that? Okay. I'm visually, I'm going to have to figure out how to change it around, which I can. Yep. The Ant King says the funny thing about that system is adventuring is kind of an unhealthy vice in and of itself. Yeah, just like in Blades in the Dark, right? Like Blades in the Dark is a Victorian. I'm going to use the word Victorian punk um type of setting, and I kind of wanted to steal from that. So yeah. Going back to the combat damage thing, weapons will have weapons range from 1 to 3. So your statistics actually are far more important than the weapon itself that you're using. So there really isn't a lot of a lot of gun prawn. So holdout weapons are +1s, medium size weapons are +2s, and then heavy assault weapons and cannons are +3s. So they will add to your statistics. So if you put a 4 in your attributes and a 4 in 3 of your approaches, those aren't very good odds. So what ends up happening is you're going to want to pick a number of your positive traits that will add to what you're doing, and the maximum number of positive traits you can pick is 6. Or a trait that is beyond a +1, which it might be a +2 or +3. So you get a maximum number of 6, 3 to one attribute, 3 to your approach, and that's your maximum. So if you were able to add 3 to your flex score and 3 to your subtle approach, then as a beginning character, you would have 7 and 7, and you roll 2d12 and try to roll under, but roll high, but not over your 7. So you can roll from 1 through 7, and you get that from. Let's see if we can read this on the very right of the character sheet. It says gear used to modify a die roll, adding +1 per gear trait, or +2 or +3 with advancement. And maximum gear mods are +3. So gear is all your good stuff. So maximum modifier is +3 to an attribute, +3 to an approach. Gear can be used narratively, such as equipment, contacts, weapons, and armor. Weapons and armor. Did I put gear twice? I sure did. Yep, I sure did. So an example would be that. Sorry about. I know I'm moving back and forth. So let's say you have something in your pockets. Let's say you have. What's a narrative? I'm trying to think of a narrative thing. Oh, okay. You need to get past that guard. The guard's in front of you. You need to get past the guard. You have a contact in law enforcement, and you tell the guard, "Hey, I know Joe and Adriana in the law enforcement department. They say I should be able to get in here," right? That can be used as a +1. Let's say you have that as a connection and you're like, oh, law enforcement +1, great. Or you check mark off one of the boxes, it's a +1. I have law enforcement contact. Great. Okay, it's +1 to your die roll, roll your dice. But you could also, the player can say, can I burn that? Can I use that as, like, I have a contact in law enforcement? And the guard goes, do you? You sure I can't contact these people? And, PC is like sweating. Can I use that gear? Can I use that as my contact? Yes, you can. In other words, it just takes the place of something narrative, right? We're not rolling. We don't have to roll the dice. You do have a contact in law enforcement. That's a truism on your character. You got that the last game. The guard goes, hey, I know who that person is. And then narratively, we can say, as the GM, you could just go, I'm just going to hand wave it. You brought up a name, guard knows the name. You just walk on past them. Don't even take it off your character sheet, or you burn it. I'm going to call Adriana, and I know she's the captain of the guard. I'm going to call her up. Guard calls Adriana. Adriana, says a good word, talks to you in your ear. Adriana says, listen, that's the last time. That's the last favor I'm doing for you. Don't call me again. Unless you're in the space hab, you come by next time, right? And that becomes a narrative thing. So not only is it numerical, if it makes sense and it's narratively possible to use it, then just use it. And so that's exactly what that is. We're not going to get into like the convictions, foundations. Conviction is basically alignment. It's like what motivates your characters. There's 6 of them. Foundation is your body. Vocation are your skill assessment. Description is like what makes you more special than anybody else. Are you quick, fast, alluring, charming, brilliant, perceptive? There's a list of those. Connections mean exactly what it says. The people and places that you are connected to, factions you're connected to. Location is the place you most likely call home. Mars, asteroid belt, Saturn, the Jovian system, the Oort cloud, Mercury, things like that. And then lastly, I'll tell you about advancement, which is pretty simple. But I got to see what our co-hosts have to say. The Enking says, I can picture a post-body virus being very scary in this galaxy. Some hackers' AI going awry. You already got it. There are literally people called zeros. These individuals in the world have a digital virus that follows them, that slowly erases all of their digital footprint. Now, that sounds badass if you're an assassin or a spy, but that's horrible for a lot of people who are at the bottom of the social and economic food chain who do not have a digital um, digital footprint. So think of today. Think of all the things you do on your average day that require you to have a digital footprint. Now imagine you have zero access to any of that. You can't log in on your phone. Your phone doesn't recognize your face. You don't have any. Your phone is a brick in your pocket. When you go to the bank, they don't know who you are any longer. You can't. Your digital footprint is gone. You're being erased digitally from systems. Now, again, PCs are going to kind of love that part until you realize you can't acquire. It will be nearly impossible for you to acquire wealth or status or things like that because you don't have a digital footprint. You don't have any um, relationships on the web. It's actually called the flow. You don't have any. It's going to be difficult for you to transfer your neural consciousness from body to body because if you try to project your mind across the solar system, no one knows who or what you are on the other end of that system. Um, but it's also slow because they're called zeros. So yes, there are people who have biological bodies, physical bodies, who are carrying around a digital disease with them. It's really weird, but I thought it would be a good idea to have that. By post body, I mean multi body, something that follows someone around wearing them down. Okay. Yeah, pretty odd. Drew, he's so silly. Yeah, my phone is not the only one not recognizing my face. When I look into the mirror, I also wonder who that is and where the girl I went when I used to see there. You know what? Don't listen. This old grognard graybeard face dude is I still wonder, like, the face is getting mature, but the mindset isn't. I'm still very an immature kind of person. Um, yeah, it's very odd. The Yanking says that zero idea is really cool. Yeah, there are people. So players may have a connection with a zero population, but zeros are literally diseased. They are carrying around a digital virus. So other people in the community don't want to associate with them because it may affect their digital presence. And on the surface, it seems really cool. Like, man, I could flow into this habitat and I'm going to disappear from the sensors and no one's going to know I was in here except when the doors don't open for you and they don't recognize you. And they, because, yeah, Drew's actually wrote somebody that I used to know. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Gautier. Somebody that I used to know. I don't get me singing. Took my records. Really good song, but yeah, somebody that I used to know. There are real people who suffer from body dysmorphia, and the condition. What is the condition where you cannot recognize faces? Proso. How do you pronounce this word? Proso. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Prosopagnosia. Prosopagnosia. Pagnosia. Sing the Star Wars I used to know. You silly. But yeah, that's the in this world, you could literally wake up in a body and you don't recognize yourself. And then that is a form of baggage that you could acquire when transferring from one body to another. So yes. So Remember I was talking about when you roll the dice, there's always something that's going to happen. So when you roll the dice, you're either going to succeed or fail. Now, this isn't necessarily a pass fail system. It is a yes, no, if, and or but system. And this yes, no, if, and or but system means that if you both succeed and fail on dice rolls, uh, yeah, prosopagnia, prognosia. Sorry about butchering everything. Nausea is the recognition part, so I guess prosopa might be about the face. Then, yeah, I thought the spelling of it, yeah, because the not the genome, the genesis the genesis of the word. Yeah, lots of Latin origins for words. Kind of try to figure them out. The word is rolling around in my head because I don't remember ever hearing the word or seeing the word, and I've never pronounced it before. So yeah. Okay. Oh, you got me distracted because the word's in my head. Okay. Uh, I'm a thesaurusician, self-proclaimed thesaurusician. I love words. I wish I loved languages. The etymology. Thank you, there, dead man. There's another word. Thank you, which I'm familiar with, but I love it. I use a lot of etymology in the gaming language that I made up. I love slang and the origins of words, and sometimes I like to use the meanings of the words. I specifically use the word baggage because baggage has itself baggage with it. People understand that word in their head, and it goes like do you really mean baggage like luggage, or do you mean baggage like carrying around problems? And the answer to that is yes. So yeah, I that's why I used bricks for a pseudo monetary system of finding things that you carry around, because we know what a brick is, a big red block or something. We also know there's other side definitions to bricks, like drugs and stuff. We know stacking up of bricks and tossing bricks. And also, people tend to, for slang, we either start to shorten things up to the point that we don't recognize what that word is. Like people that say the filler word, do you know what I'm saying, has been reduced down, know I'm saying, as a slang, as a filler when we're trying to think of the next thing to say. So, because the purpose of do you know what I'm saying is to ask the other person. So, as I'm describing this to you, I'm asking you, do you really understand what I'm saying to you? Another person responds, yes, I do understand. But it's like using the word like or things. Actually, while I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Right? It's a slang thing, right? An ebonic type of slang term. So, yeah, very strange. But yeah, slangs tend to devolve down into simple things, or we just come up with a better word that helps us describe the thing we're trying to say, right? Like bling, you know, uh, jewelry and diamonds. Nah, just use the word bling. So that's where I got bricks from, and stuff like that, and even the attributes as well. Very much like the force flex fulcrum. I When by the time I got to my third degree black belt, there was a gentleman. He actually shows up in the chat every once in a while, Dante, and he came up with the force flex fulcrum idea. Actually, it was force, movement, and adaptability, and then I just used other words for it. But we used it in martial arts class about how like things kind of reduced down to like uh, forcefully going through your problem, trying to maneuver around your problem, or an acceptance of the problem. And I decided to use it a little bit more proactive and just make, going through it, going around it, or using the minimal amount of energy to solve your problem. But that's basically it. So yes, guys. Uh, by the way, there is permanent deletion if you lose all your strive and then damage comes directly off of your force, flex, and fulcrum, and all those drop to 0, your character is effectively dead and possibly deleted. Now, you can get permanent deletion either after all 6 of your approaches and all 6 of your convictions are gone, or something happens narratively, like I don't know, there's a scrambling system, so you can't beam your brain neural pathways out of the space station. Oh, and it's also tumbling into the gravity well of Jupiter, and there's no way for you to escape. So now your zip drive, your zip and jacket, the body you're in, just falls down into the red storm that's in Jupiter's atmosphere, then or Venus or whatever. Then yeah, you're pretty much dead. Yeah, you're completely deleted. Go make another character, right? Now, your other character could be made off of well, technically you could come back from a copy, but if there's no copy available, so yeah, whatever. But lastly, before I get out of here, I will talk about advancement. But before I do that, baggage can be Drew, you brought this up, so I'm glad you did this, even though you may not know that. Drew says, "Oh, since we talk about languages, watch more of the accent stuff you had yesterday on the show. Interesting stuff." Did you? Yes. The Gentleman, it's like a 3-part series. It's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours long, and talking about the accents of the United States, and actually flows up into Canada. Yeah. And I believe the Gentleman is a Canadian language expert. But yeah. Permanent deletion is the name of your campaign supplement after you make the main book. Permanent deletion. Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, so Drew, you brought up something about blindness and baggage. So character advancement. I love that permanent deletion. It's being etched in up here. So character advancement is 3 points. You get to add 1, choose 1, change 1. So character advancement is a 3-step process. Add 1, change 1, pick 1. So during character, let me reduce this size here. I know you may not be able to see it very well, but I need to get the character sheet a little more visible. So add 1, change 1, add 1, change 1, pick 1. Add 1 means you get to add a number 1 to an attribute, an approach, and or something, one of your skills or whatever down in here. You get to add 1. So you get to add a number 1 to those. Most people are going to pick their attributes and approaches. What I'm probably going to do is that if you go down here with more of your subcategories like sub skills and things like that, you may get a twofer. I don't want to make it too complicated, but I think a twofer would probably work in that aspect. So you get to add 1, literally add +1. You also get to pick 1. Pick 1 means you get to pick another conviction or another description or another connection. Maybe in the game, your character's never been to Mars before, but the adventure you climbed, the whole adventure was climbing up Mount Olympus Mons, the largest mountain in the solar system, and on Mars, that's like a couple of kilometers tall. And the whole adventure was in and out of the mountain. You climb. Hey, I'd like to add 1. So not add 1. I get to pick 1. So I get to pick 1 thing to add to my character. Can I get mountain climbing? Or can I get aquatic survival? Or can I pick connection to the underworld or that law enforcement character or something like that? You get to pick something. Usually as the Spiral, the game master, you really want to offer these to the characters and you go, can I pick sniper? Yeah. Can I pick like spy or spycraft or maybe something more specific like mimicking voices or something like that? Usually 1 or 2 word things, and get to write them down in here. Yes, you get to pick 1. So you get to add 1, you get to pick 1, you get to change 1. Change 1 means you get to change something on your character sheet from something else to something else. So change 1 would be, I'm not using subtle. I realize my character isn't really subtle. Can I change that to focused? Yes. Or my flex is 5 and my force is 3, but I feel like they should even themselves out. Can I change the 5 and 3 to a 4 and 4? by just subtracting one and taking and adding one to the other one. I want to change that. Yes. Or my conviction was exploiter, and I thought that would fit good for my character. Except I think my character's personality is changing. Can I change that? Yes. So foundation. Hey, I have a biological body on Luna, but I've been adventuring on Mars. Can I change my foundation, which would be like a biological body or something, to an auton, like a mechanical body? Because that's the one my character's really in, Yes. So it's +1, add 1, change 1. And that's how advancement happens. Woo! uh, so I wish more games would do that kind of thing, because I really design wise, I've never had a problem when a player plays a character and they go, "Can I change something?" I'm like, "Yeah," because I'd rather play with you. I'm not playing with the character. I'm playing with you as a person. I want you in my game. I'd rather you be happy in the game by changing something than you being pissed off and sticking with the rules. So yeah, you thought your character was a rogue, but instead your character probably should be a ranger. Of course you can change it, right? Yeah. Your alignment was neutral good, but you really more like a chaotic good character. Yeah, of course you can change it. I don't care. I picked these spells. Can I change these? Of course you can, right? To make it a little bit more fun, without necessarily breaking the gaming system, right? Um, the other thing is that for me, characters grow throughout time, and oftentimes, especially in level-based systems, it's difficult to break out of the type of character you've created. So I wanted the ability for characters to change their stats, change their motivations, change their gear, change. So when during advancement, the add 1, pick 1, change 1 aspect is something that I really want to hold on to, especially the change 1. Hey, my character really isn't subtle any longer. I want to pick Swift. Hey, my overweight engineer character that I made is learning from the gunman, character in the group. I feel like my force stat, which I left really low, like a 2. um, I'm gonna could I change that and kind of mix that with my flex stat and change the 2, because I'm getting a little bit more bolder and a little bit more, less careful and more bold or wild or something like that? Yes, you can do that. Um, so yep, that's it. So anyway, guys, I did want to talk about that. Um, Combat, you're rolling your dice, whatever. Uh, um, Whatever die rolls you make, you roll 2d12. That's also the damage you do. So if you completely if you don't have a skill in it at all, no association with it, every success you do 1 point. If you are a +1, then when you roll the dice, you use the lowest die. If you're a +2, you roll the dice and you take the higher die. And if it's +3, you roll both dice. When you roll both dice, you add them together for damage. Um, Also, depending on the weapon style, a +1 weapon does the lowest die damage, a +2 weapon does the highest die damage, and a +3 weapon, usually like these are heavy weapons and cannons, do both dice damage. Um, those damage potentials only happen if you succeed in what you're trying to do. So if you roll a 3 and a 9, and a 3 is successful, then we go to which dice do you use. So you roll a 3 and a 9, you're using a sidearm, a small pistol, a sidearm or something like that. Then you roll 3 and a 9, you do 3 points of damage. If you roll a 3 and a 9 and you're using like an assault rifle, a carbine is actually what it's called in the game. You're using your your razor carbine, or X-ray laser carbine. Then between 2 dice, you use the higher one. You use the 9. You succeeded on the 3, you get to use the 9 for damage. And then if it's a Vox Tech cannon using sound waves, and it's a big, armored tank cannon, or a big heavy weapon that's, shoulder mounted, or you have to carry in both arms like a Gatling gun, you add both dice. So if the 3 succeeded, great, you do 9 plus the 3, you do 12, 11 points of damage. 12 points of damage, excuse me. Damn, my brain's not working. So that's how that works. Jesus. Drew says, so I get an honorable mention in your system? No, you get a mention in the system. I didn't tell you guys this, but I'm definitely going to give it away for free. I can't make print books for free. So if I can find somebody who can actually get this to be, for print on demand or something like that, it will be purchasable, but you guys won't have to worry about that. I want to actually get your information and put it in the book. So yeah, hell yeah. I'm not that kind of person. I'm like, if something comes to mind and someone created it, then yeah, and all you guys are part of the show. It's just like the idea of doing the day of series and doing a 365-day series or something. All of you are going to get mentioned in it. And if it, like, for example, I keep being encouraged to push like a Patreon or a membership, YouTube membership kind of thing. And yes, that's a note to the honorable system. Yeah. Hey, all the dishonorable mentions have a whole list of people, whole bunch of middle fingers and curse words and stuff. That would be awesome. I wonder if I could get away with something like that. That'd be funny. That would be pretty fun. But no. If I ever start to do because I don't make any money off of this. If I ever do a promotional Patreon membership fee, things like that, you guys are already going to be in it. I'll have to figure out how you guys can be in it for free so that I could gate things behind that, because the channel isn't very big right now, which means I can keep up with you guys and I can talk to you and I can have these interactions. If there's like 30 people in the chat and there's no way I can keep up, which means I'm going to have to end up gating the system, which means, only reading super chats or only from people that are members or only people. And I really don't want to get to that point. But if I do, I want to figure out how to put people in it for free. So yeah. And when it comes to the writing and stuff like that, yeah, because I'm doing this online. I'm not doing this alone. So yeah. And it's pretty simple. Put people's names and things like that. Maybe give yourself a writing credit. So if this is good enough and you want to do your own thing, you can say, hey, I have a writing credit on this Obsidian Star game, and use that for your resume. Just like me. Side note, okay, we're past all that. December 21st, I will be on Heath's Geekverse. Let's see if I can find Heath's Geekverse. No, Heath's Table Talk YouTube. I think it's going to be Table Talk, because he has another channel. Table Talk, Deep Conversations in the Geekverse. That's it. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to be on this show, and he does live streams like I do, but his are more general in the creative space in terms of writing and script writing, books, novels, graphic novels, art, that kind of thing. So I'm going to be on the show. I don't know what the subject matter is going to be, but I really don't care. For example, here are some talking about Arcane, or is it a masterpiece? Talks about how a Christmas saved Islam. There's some other things like that. Fan fiction, how disappointing Napoleon was in like movies, past live streams. What is it? Fight Club analysis. Talking with Maxwell Alexander Drake, et cetera. Right. And secondly, there is still, okay, let me see. Cool name goes here. RP. Let's see. Boom. Cool name goes here. Share this tab instead. There's also a cool name goes here. I'm one of the designers for the successful Kickstarter of Cool Name Goes Here, which was started during the OGL debacle. And it's a game that's going to be given away. It's literally the placeholder name became the name of the system, where Cool Name Goes Here is a community led action, and I'm one of the contributing designers to this. And where's my face? My face is kind of like down to the slightly to the right here, and I'll be talking with the main designer of the game, who's the creator of Autaltus, and we're going to be talking. I'm at the point where my input now is going to be for this game. There is a long list of design videos out there talking about the game, and you can get involved in the production of the game. It does have a very unique and strange die system. It is a step die system dice pool, and very cool though. But anyway, it's called Cool Name Goes Here. I love the symbol though. I love it. It's very simple, but I love it. This gear, Cool Name Goes Here. So I'm part of that, and that's coming up pretty soon as well. So it's kind of cool. Drew says, I'm looking forward to it. We'll try to be there live, even though it's usually in the middle of the night for me, which is why I missed Runkles there tonight. Yeah, and I usually catch them. It's hard. I can't really watch them at night because night is for family, night's for the wife. But at work, I get to listen to things for hours on end. I can listen to something for 6-7 hours straight, just because I'm a letter carrier and I'm out on the street. So I usually catch a lot of these live streams. So I get to listen to podcasts a lot. So I'm lucky in that, but I can't, yeah. So yeah, and I don't know what we'll be talking about. There's a couple of ideas. Usually, through our communication, we was talking about some ideas. Now he has a list of what he talks about, which is perfectly fine. So I came up with some ideas, like you guys know I love to talk about exploration. So that's a default for me. Death in role-playing games to me is that's a little quirk I have in my head. Like, it's one of these things that makes you go, about death in role-playing games and death in role-playing games as concerns the entire role-playing community. And I'm sure he always has a stack of books. And so there's always that to talk about. And maybe I might even be on the show with some other people as well. And so, yeah. But anyway, enough of that. Thank you very much for letting me psychologically vomit all of my ideas in a verbal format in terms of this damn this damn game that I'm trying to create here. It allows me, one of the things in describing what I'm trying to do is that it allows me to express openly what I'm doing so that I can stumble on myself and go, it doesn't even sound right to me what I'm saying. And then you guys can go in like, I don't know if what you're saying is really true, what you're saying. Like Deadman keeps me on my toes, and I really appreciate that, because sometimes you kind of need a person to go, wait. I don't think you mean what you think you mean. Do you mean this other thing? And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. So yeah. I got this is the dirty character sheet. I luckily I have a clean character sheet down here that I have in my Canva thing. But yeah, and all these I'm probably going to end up changing around. I love the level times X weight baggage, and I'm wondering if I could insert it right here. Ooh, maybe I should get rid of this too to clean it up even more. I left those for character creation. Convictions. I don't know if I don't think I'll be able to put everything on the character sheet unless I completely get rid of this whole pocket scheme. Get rid of all of that. And that would free up a bunch of space, shrink it down a little bit. Maybe get rid of these little tabs on the side, because people can very easily write a +1, +2, +3. I don't know. Anyway, long story short, trying to keep things pretty simple. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for supporting me, or at least taking valuable time out of your day to be part of what I'm doing here. And maybe, just maybe, you guys, when you guys start doing your own thing, or if you want to, please come back to me and say, hey, can I get a little bit of shout out, or get invited onto the show, or display some kind of thing? I would be more than happy to do so. So guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I hope with spending your valuable time here, I can make change for you and your tabletop role-playing experience. So thank you very much. Have a great weekend. I will see thee very bright and early Monday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on the RPG with DBJ live podcast about tabletop role-playing games, only found here anywhere in the greater internet verse. Guys, have a great one. I'll see thee later. Yep, it's not times, it's X written 1, 2, 3. Do X? I don't mean so. Okay, Deadman, I'm a little confused. It's X written. Do you mean XXX like 1/2/3? So you're saying X as the number, the level 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. I thought you meant like level times level. Shit, my brain. Oh, I'm so stupid. That's what happens when you go live. Yes, you mean 1, 2, 3. Hmm. So you're saying, like, let's see if I can put this. Oh, I'll put it in a dirty one. Is there space here? Bum, 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 bum. Move you here. So instead of let me type in exactly what you wrote. Where's the thing? Oops. So this is the what you wrote, but what you're saying is 1/2/3, like that. Yes, but I didn't realize it meant multiple numbers. Yeah, X is a placeholder for a number. Yes, X is like that's what I didn't because X is also yes, X also is also not times, not the multiplier. Shit, what am I trying to say? Godzilla X Kong, right? Sometimes the X is like something versus something, right? It's a oh shit. Yes, baggage would be written level 1 baggage. Yes, level 2 baggage, level 3 baggage. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. So someone could get a concussion, and a concussion of 1 is different than a concussion of 3. Right. So if I let me get this even bigger, because I got to get out of here. So bam. Right, and then I could actually come on, boom, boom, boom. I could stretch this out a little bit, and then write it in here. I actually have to make this a little smaller. It's a 12 font. I could make it smaller if somebody could read it, but that's what you were saying. All right, okay, okay. Actually, let me do this, and I'll let me turn it red, so I know I'm gonna have to change it at a certain point and figure it out. Yeah. Okay. Woo. Oh, DBJ, your brain. Woo, it's dead. It's just woo. Yes. Finally. Thank you, guys. Sometimes the idiocy is I'm still thinking of the prosopagnasia shit. The fucking word is in my head and I can't get rid of it. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. This is what happens when you have a person who, while I don't think I'm particularly on any particular spectrum, I do flow back and forth on that. And when I'm doing the live show, I'm also like, I have a bunch of windows open. I'm looking at the chat. Sometimes when I got a window open, I can't see the chat. So then I go back. And then I'm also trying to create a system where, as a podcast, you don't even need to look at it. You could hear what I'm saying. So I'm also trying to describe the things that you see. So it sounds like I'm repeating what you're actually looking at, but I'm doing it for audio purposes. And I don't want to create too much dead air. And I'm also on top of all that trying to come up with the next subject matter so that I don't have dead air. I get the flow from one subject to the next. So you'll hear me, and then when I'm reading the chat, I'm trying to comprehend what you guys are saying. So I love it. Yeah. Scatterbrain for the squirrel. Don't. Yeah, you are so right. And I also have to head off to work. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Dead Man, because I can hear Dead Man's fingers slamming on the keyboard like mother. Oh, what I meant to say was teeth all clenched together, fingers clenched like, oh, if I could just wake up. But that also happens at being so early in the morning. Guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Now I'm getting out of here and I'm letting you guys go. So thank you very much for being part of the show. Valuable time. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys Monday. Peace and tranquility.